The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us tonight, and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one of you. Just want to let everybody know that tonight, if you do have questions, you can private chat them to either Ceiling Cat, Jeffrey Gould, or myself. We will get those questions right over to our guest and get them answered for you. If you are listening from somewhere around the world, you'd like to come and be here with us, come over to thepara-x.com, click on the live chat button, and you'll be in the room with all these wonderful people, and you'll be able to interact with them and interact with us. As you know, last week I wasn't here. I was out sick, and I still am. But I want to give a great big cheer to Barbara and Jeff for taking over and doing the show for us. Barbara did a wonderful job, and Jeff did, yeah. And I want to appreciate all of you, and a big thanks to Sarge for getting them on. It was a great show. So tonight we have a great guest, and because he's only going to be on for the first hour, we're not going to take a break tonight, first half the show, so we can get him in. And we have with us Jeffrey Gould.
Hello.
And we have Barbara Duncan.
Howdy, everybody.
And if you hear a buzzing or something like that in my machine tonight, it's probably my microphone, so I'm going to have to replace it, and maybe cables. So we'll see what we can do to get that taken care of. But without further ado, I'm going to have Jeff go ahead and introduce our guest.
Yeah, and as we said, off air, that even though we can hear that buzzing in our headsets, that doesn't mean it's being picked up for the podcast. So probably no one in the chat room is hearing the buzz. But anyway, our guest tonight is author and co-host of Stargazers, Dean Regas, of the Astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory since 2000. He's a renowned educator, a national popularizer of astronomy, and an expert in observational astronomy. And Dean is a co-host of Stargazers, which airs on over 100 PBS stations around the world. A new twist on the iconic backyard astronomy program made famous by Jack Horkheimer, Star Hustler. Dean is a contributing editor to Sky and Telescope Magazine, a contributor to Astronomy Magazine, where he won 2008's Out of This World Award for Astronomy Education. He's written over 120 astronomy articles for the Cincinnati Enquirer, blogs for the Huffington Post, and is regularly featured on television and radio. And he's been a frequent guest since 2012 on National Public Radio's Science Friday with Ira Flatow. He's the author of books Wonders to Say Sky and Facts from Space. So here is wonderful. Welcome, Dean Regas.
Oh, thanks for having me on. This is great.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was trying a couple of times to actually get you on, but what are you hollering about, Jeff?
I just long dead silence there for a second.
Oh, well, sorry.
Normally you jump right in.
Sorry. This book, it's a real interesting book, and there's way too much time for us to even come close to getting everything in there. When I started reading it, there was some things that jumped out at me that I didn't know, and it was real good to learn about. I used to like to go out and look in the nighttime sky and watch the stars, but I won't do it unless it's summertime. So, but one of the things
you can't deal with the cold, huh? Yeah.
No, can't deal with not anymore.
Yeah. But the winter sky is the best. There's so many bright stars out there. Of
yeah,
course,
you can really see
cloudy
Taurus now.
Well, if you get out,
Taurus,
right,
my
that's right.
birthday.
if you get out away from the city, yeah. Anyway, the interesting things that I seen right to start with was when you go out and you face north, the stars seem to move in a counterclockwise circle around Polaris, and it's the same with whichever direction you look at, they move different. You want to explain that to us?
Yeah, that's a good place to start. I mean, that's one of the chief things to notice is, how to find the North Star in the sky, and what you'll notice is the North Star has this particular thing. It stays fixed in that spot. It is always north, and it's always in that one spot. And all the stars make this counterclockwise circle around it. So, when people were looking at this a long time ago, they thought they kind of pictured the sky as this rotating dome, and the North Star was like somebody nailed the center of the sky up there, and it spins around that center. So that's a good place to start. And once you know your north, then you'll know your east, south, and west. And for folks in the northern hemisphere, when you face east, everything will rise up and to the right. In the south, it'll go from left to right, and in the west, it'll go down and to the right. So when you see a sunrise, it's going up and to the right, and the moon rise and stars rise. It's all this one gigantic circle that looks like the whole dome of heaven is spinning around you.
That's how we get star trails on still photos or extended photos.
That's right. Yeah. When you take those long exposure photographs, then you get those star trails. It looks like one star, if they're facing north, the one star in the center will be the North Star that doesn't move very much. And you take a longer exposures, and you can see these trails of that big counterclockwise circle that goes on every night.
And that's part of the sad part of light pollution is not being able to see very many, as some of us who live in larger communities, larger cities, we see probably maybe 5% of the night sky.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, in most light-polluted skies, cities, you see maybe a couple dozen stars, maybe 100 or 200 if you're lucky. And, that is one of the sad things is that in the old days, when you didn't have any lights around you, you could see up to 6,000 stars in one night. There's 6,000 stars that are visible to the naked eye. So in my book, I kind of take that into account because, out of the 100 things that I have to see in the night sky, pretty much all of them are visible to the naked eye, and a good percentage of them are visible from city locations. We've got the 5 naked eye planets that you can see, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and then the brightest constellations, the brightest stars, and then some other ones that are a little fainter and are a little, I tried to give a little bit of a challenge to folks to go beyond and the bright stuff and go for a couple really unique oddball stars or oddball objects too.
And then there are the man-made ones, correct? Like the International Space Station, which flies over.
That's true. Yeah. And in the last section of the book, I kind of have the miscellaneous objects you can see in the night sky, like meteor showers, conjunctions, eclipses. But I highlight a few really great satellites that you can see in the sky because when I do star parties at the Cincinnati Observatory and we go out and we look at the stars, we look at Orion, we look at the Big Dipper, one of the great things you can do is to show when the International Space Station goes overhead. It is so bright when it goes over. And there's these websites that, or apps that can tell you when the space station is going to fly over. And this thing is bright. I mean, when the space station goes right over you, it's like as bright as Venus. And startling if you don't know what it is. So you look for this steady, bright light that goes from one side of the sky to the other. If you time it, it's about 5 minutes or 6 minutes to go from horizon to horizon. So that's the speed you want to look for. And it doesn't blink. Planes will blink, but satellites will not blink. And I just really get a kick out of showing people the space station because it's kind of like you look ahead of time on websites and apps and it tells you where to go, where to look. And you can prepare your audience and say, I called NASA up and they arranged this for me. They're going to fly over our head. I pulled out a favor, and then you point to it, say, there it is, and it comes over the trees, and it feels kind of powerful, even though it's just going over anyway.
And we could probably explain that the lovely little nursery rhyme of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," that reflected light does not blink or twinkle. So you can always tell from a star.
That's the main way, is that planets do not twinkle as much as stars. They still do twinkle, and that's a product of the distance this light is traveling from stars to the Earth. Starlight to the Earth travels trillions of miles to get here. The light from planets is reflected off the sun, reflects off the surface, and then travels millions of miles to us. But the key thing with the planets is that they are not pinpoints of light, but they're sizable objects. Although you can't see them as more than pinpoints of light, they're still little disks. And so the light doesn't scatter as much as starlight coming over those trillions of miles. But if you look low in the sky and there's a planet there, like Mercury's low in the sky or Saturn's low in the sky, you still might detect a little bit of a twinkling. But if you compare it to a star next to it, you'll see, oh man, it's twinkling a lot less than a star.
That's a cool explanation. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is the difference between a star and a planet?
Sure, yeah. Well, so the planets that I cover, I cover only the naked eye planets in this book. So again, that was Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Uranus and Neptune, I don't talk about too much just because you need binoculars or a telescope to even find them. And, I don't know if we want to go into a Pluto debate tonight, but I don't include Pluto in this one either because I've never seen Pluto in a telescope. And I have a big telescope at the observatory, but it is beyond our capabilities to even see it at the observatory. So Pluto is faint and hard to find, and how that was discovered in the first place is pretty amazing. There's a great story behind that. So a planet is something that goes around the sun, and so those planets that we can see are basically either rocky objects like Mercury and Venus and Mars, where sunlight is bouncing off their surfaces and then bouncing back to our eyes. And then in the case of Jupiter and Saturn, these are huge spheres of gases, of hydrogen and helium gases, that are also reflecting the sunlight and bouncing back hundreds of millions of miles. And whereas a star, this is something that's generating its own light and its own heat. It's not reflected sunlight. These things are incredible distances away. And that's why I really love stargazing, because you just think, man, these things are so far away. And, we're talking the closest star to us is Proxima Centauri, and it's still 25 trillion miles away. And so when you look up and you see other stars that are 10 times that distance or 100 times that distance, and I cover one of my favorite stars to point out to people is the tail star of the Swan constellation called Cygnus. It's a star, its name is Deneb. It's spelled D-E-N-E-B. And by some accounts, it's probably the farthest star you can see with the naked eye, over 3,000 light years away. And so in miles, it's 17 quadrillion miles away.
Jeez.
And you can still see it. And you can still see it up in the sky. It's really cool.
You'd have to have a big gas tank to get there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't have that many miles on my car, that's for sure.
That would be frequent flyer miles.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But at that distance, it'd just be one flyer.
That's right. Well, and then this is the other thing that folks don't think about too much, too, is that, it takes light time to go from place to place. So when you're looking at the stars, you're looking at how the starlight that left that star, years ago. If you look at Deneb, you're looking at that light took 3,000 years to go from that star to your eyes, and only now are you seeing it. And it just, when you start thinking about the vastness of the universe, it's just, man, I mean, you can't say it any better. It's astronomical. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's space and time. So
yes,
the further out
exactly.
The star is, the longer it took for you to actually see it.
Yep, the farther, it's like a time machine. You're looking back in time to how that star was years ago.
So you might be looking at some that maybe is already vanished, but we're still seeing the light.
Well,
from
that is as somebody that's a big fan of supernovas, I am hoping there's a few stars that we've been watching that could go any moment. They could explode at any moment into a supernova. The two main ones that we can see in the northern hemisphere are Antares, which is the Scorpion's heart star, very red supergiant star that you can see in the summertime. And then the second one is the best named star in the whole sky, Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse, yeah.
And Betelgeuse is Betelgeuse is the armpit star in Orion. So when you look at Orion's belt, the 3 stars in a row for his belt, it's the star above the belt on the left side that's orangish in color. And so Betelgeuse, if my memory serves me, is about 640 light years away. So if it has exploded within the last 640 years, it could be gone already, but we won't know it until the explosion gets to us. So I have my fingers crossed and say, I want to see this in my lifetime. I'd like to see a supernova as bright as the ones that people saw, hundreds of years ago. Because when Betelgeuse does go, it is going to be something else. It'll be so bright that it should be visible in the daytime.
Wow.
And so imagine you go outside, you see the sun, and there'll be this little other pinpoint sun up in the sky. It's something that nobody alive has ever seen. The last big supernova was in 1604. So by my reckoning, that means we're due, I think. But of course, the lifetime of a star is, millions of years. So I don't want to hold my breath for Betelgeuse, but every time I look out there, I think, come on, you can do it. You can explode for us. Come on.
Well, now, that's a very huge star, isn't it? If it went supernova and blew up, would that have any effect on us?
Luckily not. That's the big plus of Betelgeuse being so far away from us. Its reach won't really get to us. If we were a lot closer, then we'd have to worry about some of these gamma ray bursts and other things that could affect life here. But it is so far away. All it's going to do is just make this great light show, and it is it's hard to picture the size of that star. But the way I think about it is, if we replaced our sun with Betelgeuse, the distance from the Earth to the sun is 93 million miles. And so that little sun that we see is 93 million miles. If Betelgeuse was our star, we would be inside of it. So Betelgeuse's reach would go past the orbit of Mars all the way out to the orbit of Jupiter. And so we wouldn't be on the edge of it. We would be in the middle of it.
That's how big
that would not...
Wow.
We'd be a little crispy at that point because it'd be about 5,000 degrees.
That's about the number of sunscreen you would need, too, I guess.
Oh, yeah, SPF 10,000, that's right.
So if it does blow, are we still going to see the light for another 600,000 light years?
Well, so this is the tricky part, is that, since we haven't had a supernova of that magnitude in 400 years, we don't have any modern, scientific studies of these kind of things. So all we can go by is what the ancients saw and what people said in the Renaissance. And I've read some of their, like Kepler's description of the supernova, and it's lacking some details that I would love to know. I mean, he didn't even have a telescope; wasn't invented then, so that's how long ago this was. But what they note is that with supernovas, that they are incredibly bright for about a month. And so we'll see this light for about a month or so, and then it'll slowly fade. And what will be left, that's the question mark. But with some of these older supernovas, they were visible in the daytime for 3 weeks or so.
Wow.
So it's not a long time that they're really bright, but they're basically giving off as much energy as our entire galaxy all at once at one time, and that's what's really cool.
So all these stars are in our galaxy?
Yeah. So there is, let's see, out of the 100 things I have in my book, 99 of them are in our galaxy. So that's all the stars, all the planets, some star clusters, like I have the Seven Sisters star clusters in there, the Beehive cluster, the Pleiades, correct, yep, that's their other name. There's a big cluster called the Hercules cluster, also known as M13, that's in our galaxy. There's only one thing that is in the book that is outside the galaxy, and I kind of put it in there as, it is technically visible to the naked eye if you're in a really dark sky, and it is the Andromeda galaxy. So that's the only thing in the northern hemisphere we can see with the naked eye that's outside of the Milky Way. And when you see it, it looks like a little fuzz ball. You barely detect it. And this is an object that's, outside of our galaxy. It's 2.5 million light years away, and it has 1 trillion stars in it. And I can't think of a better way to describe the distance to that galaxy other than think of the sun, multiply that light by 1 trillion, and you can barely see it. That's how far away that galaxy is.
And it's headed right for us.
And it is heading at us. We're on a crash course. We're on a collision course.
Air quotes.
Another thing to worry about in about 4 billion years when we get closer.
Oh man, I better up my insurance.
Yeah. So I mean, that's so the question that our future astronomers are going to have to deal with is when the two galaxies merge, the Milky Way and Andromeda. What are we going to call the super galaxy? Are we going to call it? I'll let you guys vote. Here's the two options. We'll either call it Milkdromeda or Andromaway. What do you think? Which one do you like better?
That's like a bad place to park your car.
Yeah. In the Andromaway, right, yeah.
I've always read that the stars are actually so distant from each other that galaxy collision is almost like passing through each other without actually hitting each other.
Yeah, that is correct. When the two galaxies merge and fly by each other, the vast majority, it's mostly empty space in between the two between the stars. Just if you take our nearest star is 25 trillion miles away, other than the sun, that is. And so there's mostly empty space, and so collisions would be extremely rare, even though you're talking a galaxy with 1 trillion stars run into another galaxy with 400 billion stars. A collision is not impossible, we would say, but it is very, very rare. And so there's a really fun app that I got a few years ago. It is, if you want to waste a good 20 minutes of your time, it's called Galaxy Collider. And you can simulate the collision of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 galaxies into each other. And it provides almost no scientific benefit, but it is really cool to see.
I'm looking it up now.
Smash galaxies together.
Wow. Because I've seen some videos that extrapolate some galaxy collisions where the gravitational forces, the stars may not hit each other, but they sort of kind of tear the patterns of the two galaxies apart, sort of like two bits of dye in water smacking into each other kind of thing. And it looks really cool, but it's over the course of billions of years.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what the Galaxy Collider will do. It'll show you how the stars get strung out. The spiral arms that we can think of. We think of the Milky Way as this big pinwheel. When this other object goes through it, it just messes up the whole pinwheel, and stars can be ejected from the galaxy and sent out into deep space. It turns into this mass chaos that eventually the two galaxies will merge into one giant one.
Yeah, and we're actually out in the boondocks of the galaxy.
Yeah,
we
are.
Way out in the backwater.
Yeah, we are not in downtown Milky Way, that's for sure. We are in the burbs. We're out on one of the arms, pretty far from the center, actually. We're somewhere on the order of about 30,000 light years from the center of the galaxy. So we're out there, which is probably good, because in the center, that's where most of the stars are jam-packed together, and where the black hole lurks at the center of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Which is what I wanted to ask you, which is when you have two galaxies merging like that, and you have what is, I assume, to be a super massive black hole at the center of our galaxy. I don't know if Andromeda has one too. Ours is relatively dormant now. Would such a resurgence start kicking in a feeding pattern?
Well, I would say the black holes aren't dormant. They're always there, and anything that wanders by is going to be swallowed up and gone. So our black hole is doing fine. It's well fed. It's something. It's really hard to picture the scale on this, but if you think of a black hole is about the size of a planet. So think about it the size of the Earth, or maybe a little bigger. But yet it has the mass of 4 million suns in it. And so it's an extremely dense object. And so the thing is, the gravity it diminishes greatly the farther away you get from something. So this is a very small object, so it doesn't, even though it's incredibly massive, it doesn't have a huge reach. It doesn't affect the Earth. It doesn't affect the sun. It doesn't even affect an area that much farther from it. So the idea of stars colliding is pretty rare. If we get the two black holes, are the one in the center of the Milky Way and the one that's thought to be in the center of the Andromeda, run into that couldn't. Well, okay, you never say never, but that would be highly, highly, highly unlikely. That'd be like trying to play marbles. And you have your marble here, and then I've got another marble in Australia, and I'm going to throw my marble and hit that marble.
But fun to think about.
You get enough scientists working on it, they could probably make it happen, but by chance, unlikely.
Like they say, it's not impossible, it's just highly improbable.
Exactly. I would say, I don't know, I forget what movie it was from, but they always are like, so you're telling me there's a chance. That's what they always say.
Yeah.
Just one in a trillion? You're telling me there's a chance.
Just 1 in a trillion, okay.
Well, now I'm noticing that the new space telescope that we just launched or is about to launch, I believe is actually going to start taking pictures of our galaxy's center and the black hole.
Yeah, that's one thing that the Hubble telescope is not as equipped for as it could be. So the new telescope called the James Webb telescope is going to be basically like the Hubble times 100. It's going to really, I'm going to knock on wood because I hope everything goes well with the launch and the implementation. It's going to be a big, high-stakes thing because when they put that up there, it's going to be far from the Earth. So it's not going to be like where the Hubble is that circles around us about 300 miles. So we can't, once we deploy it, we are not going to be able to go fix it if anything goes wrong. And so that makes me very nervous with this. It's like we put all our marbles in this. And but if it does everything that it's supposed to, it should really, it'll make Hubble look like a magnifying glass. That's pretty much what they're saying.
Wow.
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, that we don't understand and how much further we can see. We're seeing pretty far back into time and space now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even with the Hubble telescope and a lot of ground-based telescopes, they can see these galaxies that are basically almost to the beginning of time. So they're looking back 13 billion light years and seeing these very newborn galaxies. So I don't know if the Webb telescope is going to push that envelope too much farther. There's kind of a limit that we're going to reach at some point. But that's still the resolution is going to be pretty good. the viewing of different wavelengths, I hope, is going to increase as things, because we have the optical wavelength. We can look at stuff in infrared and radio waves and all sorts of different wavelengths, and that's going to be something for the future too that we're going to be seeing in the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, awesome. But for those of us on Earth who don't have access to the Hubble, the short of a telescope, and you mentioned binoculars. Is there a certain range of binoculars or certain strength of binoculars that's best for sky viewing?
Yeah. I think any kind of binoculars are helpful. Even if they usually have two different numbers that go with it. Either it says something like a 7 by 35 or 10 by 50 or 15 by 70. When you see the two numbers, the first number is the magnification, how much it'll magnify. So if it's a 10 by 50, it'll magnify 10 times. The second number is how big the lenses are in millimeters. So a 10 by 50 would magnify 10 times, but have lenses that are 50 millimeters across, or a little about right around 2 inches. So you want the bigger the lens, the more light you can gather. You can more light than the more distant things you can see. But you get really bigger binoculars that are 70 millimeters or 100 millimeters or 200 millimeters. Then you can't hold them because they weigh 20, 30 pounds. So you got to pick the right size for what you want to do. So I like 10 by 50s are good ones to start with. 15 by 70s are pretty good after that. Once you get a little bigger, there's a portability problem, a price problem, and you got to get a mount or a tripod or something to put on there. But a pair of binoculars can just, you get out under a nice dark sky, get a little away from the city, and you actually don't really even need to know what you're looking for. You can just scan around some of the brighter constellations, and you'll just see all this wealth of stars that are in these, they're just beyond your 20/20 vision. And a pair of binoculars are great, that's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a camera to be able to shoot photographs, like we were talking before. For those of us, you need a tripod if you're going to shoot in the dark.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely need a tripod, and if you can, the ability of taking longer exposure photographs is really helpful too. If you can, if you hold your camera up to the sky and take a picture, it's not going to be good. I've tried. My sky pictures really stink. So you could, getting something mounted on a tripod, even your iPhone on a tripod, if you can do some settings with it and take a little longer exposure, you can get a lot of cool stuff. Like I've taken one of a building and then a constellation Orion in the background, and they came out with a couple second exposure or something like that. But then you can get some fancier cameras. You can get attachments for your camera to mount right on a telescope, or you can get a CCD camera or a video camera. There's so many different ways that you can take pictures of the sky, and the pictures that the amateur astronomers at the observatory they take some unbelievable pictures. You think the Hubble took them, but they have a lot of equipment, they have a lot of time, and the gear helps. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, and you have to have a remote for the camera, because one little jiggle, and it throws it.
Yeah, and a lot of camera settings have like a delay shutter, like you press a button and it'll go off in 3 seconds, so then you can like step back and not be touching it while it goes off. But yeah, that's a good point. You definitely need to do that. And there's even mounts that you can put on telescopes that your iPhone will slide right into it. So you don't even need a fancier camera. You just need the mount that goes from your camera to your phone to the eyepiece that's already in the telescope, and so your camera acts like the eye. And
wow.
And there's some other neat ones where it's kind of like it's a video camera attached to a telescope, and you can run it to a screen, and it takes a series of 5-second exposures or something like that, and so you see it on the screen as if you were looking through the telescope, and you've seen what the camera sees in almost real time, which is pretty cool too. Those are real slick.
Okay.
And a little pricey.
And a little pricey, huh?
But you know what? Even not, some dash cams and security cameras were picking up that meteor that crashed in outside of Detroit, I think, last week.
Yeah, the Michigan meteor. Yeah, that was impressive, seeing those cameras catching this, and because when you have something like a meteor that's that bright, that's something that's in the realm of that you can pick up. When you look at those dash cam videos and everything like that, I always notice that you can't see the stars in the background. The stars are just, your eye would see the stars, but your camera can't pick out that fine of a detail. But when you get a bright enough object, like the meteor streaking around, then the camera can pick it up. That was great to see all those different cameras picking up, because then we can triangulate where it came from. We can estimate where it landed, although I still have not heard anybody finding a piece yet. I know the meteor hunters go right on up, and they're probably scouring the Michigan countryside, but I haven't heard any finds yet, but I might be mistaken.
I haven't heard anything. What makes those rocks so special? Is it just because they're meteors?
Yeah, it's really just their origin and their rarity. I'm in Cincinnati, and Ohio has had only about 13 verified meteorite strikes ever. That we found 13 meteorites on the ground in the whole state of Ohio. So they're unbelievably rare, and because most of them burn up in the atmosphere and never make it to the ground, and those that make it to the ground, well, some of them look like ordinary rocks, so you wouldn't even know the difference. So the easiest places to find meteorites would be Antarctica, where you're walking on the snow, and if there's a dark rock on top of the snow, I wonder where that came from. Had to come from up above. And the other place is the Sahara Desert, if you're on the sand and there's a dark rock on the sand. So those are the two easiest places to walk around and find meteorites. Still doesn't mean you'll find one every time.
Wouldn't a meteor...
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. I was saying, wouldn't a meteorite hitting sand or snow kind of go beneath the surface?
It could. But if you hit the real hard, icy surface, it's... that's one of the things, is that meteorites, when they actually hit, they're not going terribly fast. I mean, they're not in space. They're going tens of thousands of miles an hour. Once they hit the atmosphere, they go down to about 100, 120 miles an hour. And so when they hit the ground, it's not like even a bullet hitting the ground. It's not that forceful of an impact. So it could leave holes. It definitely could leave holes and things like that. But if you hit a hard enough surface and then embeds itself, and then the top layer melts, there you go. There it is. Yeah. But it's still unbelievably rare to find one. And we have people bring rocks to us at the observatory and say, "Oh yeah, I think I got a meteorite. This one's, I'm sure this is a good one." And we have yet to find anybody bring us in a bona fide meteorite, and so we have to break the news to them that they brought in a meteor wrong. What do you think? Good joke?
One of the things I loved in your book was the how to measure angles.
Yes. Yeah.
Talking about the trajectory of it. And that to me is just fascinating, because I have never seen this before. Of being able to measure up to, is it a 30 degree?
Yeah, you use your fingers at arm's length, or your fist at arm's length, can measure angles really well. The one that I like the best, that I use the most, is if you make a fist and extend your arm, the fist that you're making would cover about 10 degrees of the sky. And so that's about 10 degrees. And so what you do is you have one fist out, that's 10 degrees. You can take your other hand and make a fist and put that on top of that fist, and now you got 20 degrees. And then you can take the other one, put on top, and now you get 30 degrees. You go hand over hand and measure all the way up to the zenith, and it'll be 90 degrees. Or you can measure from one object to the other and see how far apart they are. And this is important when, because a lot of other websites will tell you where to find objects, and they'll say how high it is in the sky, what its altitude is. And if it says the altitude is 30 degrees above the horizon, then you can use that technique and just do hand over hand for 30 degrees, and that'll get you in the right place.
So what if you're like Peter Dinklage and you got really small hands?
That's, he also has a shorter arm, probably.
That's true, yeah.
So the angle works out to be the same. But you're right, this is on average, and I do always point out, if you have exceptionally large hands or exceptionally short arms, then your angle may vary. And I've actually found there's one, the trick is your thumb, if you put your hand out and spread your fingers out from thumb to pinky, is about 25 degrees. And I've found out that my thumb to pinky is 22 degrees exactly. And, I'm nerdy. I do stuff like that. But so everybody's is off by a little bit. And I think my fist is actually slightly larger than 10 degrees, but it's close. It's close enough. It gets you in the ballpark.
But that's an absolutely great navigating tool, too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that really helps get you around the place and find some of the more difficult objects.
Yeah. Because not everybody has the apps, which, you can plug your camera or your telescope into the computer, and it will tell you where you are and look up here and see it. But it's nice to be able just to go out and explore and find them yourself.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's also, I'd recommend there's these printable star charts that are out there. You can generate your own on certain websites, or there's kind of some standard ones that are on this website called skymaps.com. And they give you kind of a picture of the sky at one moment in time, usually 8 o'clock at night for the month that you're looking. And it does what I was kind of describing earlier, is it gives you an idea of what direction to face and how high in the sky the object is. And that, if you get those two things, you'll be able to find the object pretty easily.
Yeah, unless you live in the Bay Area, and then it says you'll see fog. Next night you'll see fog.
Yep.
Now, here, of course, we have the Griffith Observatory. Have you ever gazed through there?
I have not. That's definitely on my short list of places to go, because I know they had their big renovation in the last 10 years, and it's just a beautiful facility, beautiful location. Those telescopes they have up there, those are probably the most used telescopes in the whole world, and that's it's on my list. I can't wait to go and visit. Our telescope at the Cincinnati Observatory is the oldest telescope in the United States. So we've had a lot of eyeballs look through that, but it's an amazing thing to, and that's what I really encourage folks to do. Is it's one thing to see pictures that the Hubble takes and everything like that, but there's something more magical about actually looking through a telescope yourself, and the light coming from all those miles through the lens, through the mirrors, into your eyes. It's just, there's something about that. And if this summer is going to be the great time to see the planets, and I would highly encourage everybody to put it on their bucket list for the summer to see Mars when it's going to be at its closest in July, and Saturn when it's at its closest in June. And you see the rings of Saturn in a telescope, it just will knock your socks off. It's just unbelievable.
Wow. I might end up having to go down there some weekend. Yeah,
you're not too far away, and it's and so folks can go to our website, CincinnatiObservatory.org, and just kind of get some ideas of what's coming up and what are the highlights of the sky coming up as well. Because we're in a little bit of a planet drought right now. All the planets are on the other side of the sun or in the morning sky, but once we get into March, we're going to have Venus and Mercury coming up, and then May we get Jupiter back, and June we get Saturn back, and July we get Mars back, and you get into August, you're going to have 4 planets and the moon in the sky at the same time. Oh man, it's going to be good.
So what are your hours of operation down there?
Yeah, being astronomer hours are a little weird, that's for sure. I'm mostly a night owl. In fact, the reason why I have to cut off here at 9 o'clock is because I have to go into work tonight. We're doing an event that goes till midnight, so it's a time for people to be there after hours. But the normal observatory hours were open during the daytime for people to come and see the historic buildings and telescopes. That's usually Monday through Friday, 12 to 4. And then nighttime programs in the winter, we start at 7. In the summer, we start about 8:30. And everybody gets a chance to look through the telescope if it's a clear night. Of course, clouds happen quite a bit here, unfortunately. I wish we lived in Tucson and had Tucson weather, but it's maybe a little better in San Francisco, but it's just a real joy to have people look through these historic telescopes and be able to see the sky themselves.
Wow.
Now, we have a few asteroid flybys coming up.
Yeah, there's, well, I guess some of them I get excited about, some of them I don't. There's, I know that the media gets really excited about certain ones, and I think it's some of them are kind of funny because I think what happens is reporters, they interview scientists and NASA scientists who either don't have sense of humor or something, and they say, oh man, this asteroid is going to be really close to us. Like, oh, phew, it's going to just miss us. And the reporter says, oh, well, how far is it going to miss us by? It's like, oh, it's going to miss us by only 4 million miles. I mean, whew, it's going to be really close. And 4 million miles is a big miss.
Yeah.
In fact, we had that one asteroid that came by. It was that one that the astronomers think came from another solar system. Its trajectory and speed really indicated it came from somewhere outside the solar system. And I did the calculations on how bright it would be in our sky. I mean, it would definitely not be visible to the naked eye and was barely observable with our biggest telescope that we had. So when we have these asteroid flybys, it's unfortunately those things are so tiny and so dim that most of the good pictures we get are from the one of the which telescope? It's the one in Goldstone. I can't remember. It's a radio radar imaging, but you usually get these kind of grainy black and white images of these things. But there are lots of near-Earth asteroids out there to choose from to look at, and one of the best websites I'd recommend for that is one called Space Weather, and they have a list of all the near-Earth asteroids there, and released a bunch of them.
Site. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
love
know.
it because,
anything you want to know about the sun.
You can track solar flares, all of that there. It's wonderful.
Yep. Yeah, Northern Lights. That's one of there's the Northern Lights is the again the last section of my book was the best things to look at in the sky and the most amazing events, and Northern Lights is definitely one of those. It's the only one that will compete with a total solar eclipse, and so if you can see the Northern Lights, you do have to. We've seen them in Cincinnati once since I've lived here, but it's been a long time. But the farther north you go, the more chances you have of seeing them. But then you got to mark on your calendar April. Oh shoot, I already forgot. April 12th, 2021. No, 2024. Boy, how can I not remember that date? That still doesn't sound right. April 21st, 2024. That doesn't sound right either. I have to double check. I'm still, my brain's still dead from the last solar eclipse that I saw in the summer, which was unbelievable. And I got to see it in Franklin, Kentucky, and it was my second total solar eclipse, and it was just, oh my gosh, unbelievable. It's it was something to get speechless. And April 8th, 2024. Thank you, Internet, for helping me with that one. I knew the date was wrong when I said it. April 8th, 2024. That'll be the next big eclipse in the United States.
Wow.
And I missed it because clouds. Even in California, for some reason, when the northern lights do dip down fairly much into the United States, we still can't see them for some reason. I don't know whether it's just how the magnetic poles are working or what, but California seems
they're
to
very
be
faint. Yeah, at our latitude here at 40 degrees north latitude, even when they are there, there's very, very faint. The one exception that I saw was in 2001, where we had a very large solar eruption. There's a solar maximum, and so the stream of material comes right at the Earth and bends the magnetic field. And but that was the last time we've seen them at this latitude, was 2001, at least in Ohio. But I'm hoping to take a trip up to Iceland here in the fall and improve my chances. That's for sure.
There we go.
All right.
They're in Alaska, yeah.
Or Alaska, that's right.
Before Skype kicked me off and decided that it doesn't really want me to pick up a call by not showing me an icon with which to do so, you had mentioned Tucson, and I've been out to Tucson because I had an ex who used to live out there. And yeah, it's fantastic there. Even here in Los Angeles, if you could just go out of the city a little bit up to like Agua Dulce and Vasquez Rocks, you get a pretty clear sky. But the clearest sky I've ever... Yeah.
Yeah, there's cities have this big light dome around them, but if you get out of that, and that's one, Tucson and a lot of Arizona has these light pollution laws where they have things to regulate how much light is shining up in the sky. But if you want to see Saturn and Mars in a telescope during your summer list, the other thing I would recommend is your next vacation, plan a trip to a dark sky site. Look on maps and say which areas don't have very much light pollution, and see what it's really like. National parks are good places to go for that, and but that if you want to make it part of your vacation, it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, the clearest sky I've ever seen at night was in Germany. Years and years ago, I went, and it was a modest little house without a whole lot of light around. And I went outside in the backyard, and it was like looking at special effects, because I was looking right through the disk of the galaxy of the Milky Way. I was like, I've never seen this with my naked eye before. It was just jaw-dropping.
Yeah, I mean, it's even, as somebody that knows the sky really well, when you viewing from the city and then viewing from the country is a totally different thing. And I even if I'm out in the country, which is a rare thing, I have to say, wait a second, which constellation is that? There's so many more stars that it ruins my normal constellation. I'm like, oh yeah, now I can see how that's a queen. Now I get it. All right, Cassiopeia. I just don't see. I only see 5 stars here in Cincinnati, but if I get out in the country, sure, I can maybe see a queen sitting on a throne upside down. Maybe.
Well, now you said that Polaris is the North Star, and
right.
it is the tail end of the Little Dipper?
Yes, that is correct. So yeah, the Little Dipper, or the Little Bear, Ursa Minor is the official name of the constellation.
Well, how large is Polaris?
How large is it? Well, it's definitely one of the bigger stars. It is It's quite a distance from us. It's over 400 light years away, and so it is a pretty big old star. If you kind of think of it this way, is that pretty much every star you see in the sky with the naked eye, there's maybe one or two exceptions. All of them are much larger than our sun. They're not even close. You put our sun next to any of the bright stars of Orion, of the Dipper stars. Our sun is dinky. Those big stars that make the constellations, those are the weird, strange, large ones, the gas giants, the giant ones. But Polaris is up there as one of the brighter ones, but it's so far away, it doesn't stand out like some of the other stars, like Sirius, which is much closer to us. So what's one of the myths is that the North Star is the brightest star in the sky, and it's not true. The North Star is about the 47th brightest star in the sky, so it's not something that stands out, that's for sure.
Wow. Well, Dean,
but once you find it, you got your directions.
Dean, our time's kind of running on out, and want to thank you for taking time to be with us tonight. I want you to give everybody where they can get your book at and how they can follow you and all the good stuff.
And would you please come back sometime?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, This is fun. Yeah, the book is called 100 Things to See in the Night Sky. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all around. Just look up either my name, Dean Regas, and it's spelled Regas, or 100 Things to See in the Night Sky. You can also find out more stuff on our website, CincinnatiObservatory.org. There we have a list of our TV shows that are the Stargazer shows on there. We have some of the videos there, and I also have a podcast called Looking Up. But just go to the observatory, CincinnatiObservatory.org website, and there's lots of ways you can follow me there. And if you want to pick up the book, it's a good way to get started in learning the night sky.
All right, we appreciate it. I'm not going to keep you past 9 o'clock because that's what we said, but it's a great show and very informative. Thanks for having me. My pleasure, and tell everybody to keep looking up. All right, we'll do that. You have a great evening.
You too.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, that was fun.
Yes, it was very good and very informative, even though I didn't get to talk a lot because I ain't got no voice. Which
you really should have muted your mic a lot.
I did. It was muted every time I went to cough. I don't know why it's still picking something up.
Well,
unless it's coming, it might be picking it up on a microphone on my computer. I don't know.
You never know.
So that could
maybe
be
that's
what
what's
some of
causing
our
the
problem is.
That may be the buzzing, because then you've got two microphones open.
Could be. I'll have to work on that later. So with that, I do appreciate what you guys did last weekend. I mean, I started getting sick Friday night, and by Saturday morning, I just could not go. There was nothing I could do.
That's not what we mean by the Para-X bug.
Oh.
Very good. Did you listen to the show live, or did you just conk out?
No, I conked. I tried to get on to listen. I couldn't even hold my eyes open or pay attention to what was going on. So I just got off. I said I'll listen to the recording. So,
yeah.
But you guys did a great job. So didn't even miss me.
Well, before we go to break, and I guess we can do our one break in a minute. Oddly enough, there's a huge celebration on Monday. You know.
What's that?
Your birthday. Yes, it's Henry's birthday on Monday.
I quit having those.
That means you died.
No, you can still. I've heard people being 100 years old and being dead. So.
Well, usually, most of the time.
No, you're allowed to reset the mileage back to 25.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I felt bad. Skype kept dropping me off because there were a couple of things I really wanted to mention, because we were discussing at one point he made a reference to time, and I was wondering whether there's kind of a meme out there that I think is interesting where it says, time doesn't exist, clocks exist. And because, as he said, from the beginning of time, but if time has always been here, how could it begin? Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, is
distance is time.
Well, yeah, and time is relative.
And light travels from one place to another. That's different than what you're thinking of, which is time.
Yeah. And of course, the other thing is the whether he holds the idea that Jupiter is an unignited sun, and that we should have been a binary star system. Because it's got its own planetary system. Its moons are technically planets.
And it's a gas planet, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Questions for next time he comes on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey.
And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, who knows what we're going to be talking about.
Seriously.
Because Barbara's going to be leading anything. Because I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot of talking. So I know she's got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. She's just full of it.
Whoa, wait, no, no. Seriously, dude. Not that kind of show.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys make me laugh and I cough, and you don't want that. So
Apparently we don't want Nyla to laugh. Apparently she's just sneezed and didn't do well about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay,
So
take us out, Jeff.
Take us out. Yeah, you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with hosts Henry Foister, ceiling cap Barbara Duncan, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, saying goodnight to tonight's guest author and astronomer Dean Regas, but still do stay tuned for more Paranormal View after the break.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para-X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us tonight. Those here listening in the chat room and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one of you. And speaking from around the world, Barbara, where do we have listeners at tonight?
Well, we had Sweden for a little while, and we have the United States, Canada, and the UK, and picking up listeners all the time because we're now on the app called Paranormal Radio, where you can tune in that way. You can tune in on Bose monitoring service, and if you have it in the house, you can simply say, Alexa, play Paranormal Para-X Radio Network on TuneIn, and it will.
That's right. Very good also. I have heard that.
Unless you have somebody in the house named Alexa, and then she's going to look at you like, are you nuts? Yeah.
Yes. I know my...
Now, you definitely have a second microphone open because I could certainly hear you, I guess, talking to Nyla at one point, and... Patsy there.
It's got to be the microphone on the computer itself. I'll have to work with that and figure out how to get that off. I hate
unplug it.
You can unplug it. It's internal.
Oh, my God.
The internal mic, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you're on a laptop or something?
Yeah,
or?
I'm on a laptop. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's what I do my show on. Yeah. So that's why everything's all screwed up.
Make it work.
Yeah. We'll have to work.
Wouldn't there be little icons on the? Oh, I don't know if that would mute. Well, I would probably mute the volume, but I don't know if it would mute the mic volume or just the headset volume. I don't know.
No, I think if you do that, you wouldn't hear anything at all.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. So.
Live radio, folks.
Well, I had to download new Skype, an older version. And what that does is it changes your settings for the mic and the mixer. So I have to go back in and work on that and try and find it and get it posted back on there. I
actually had it update itself on me when I logged in for before we got in there.
Yeah, well, that's the reason that I had to go back and find an older version of Skype. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been hearing commercials or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyway, though, I want to thank everybody for taking time to be with us. And, Barbara, you should have a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Maybe Jeff and I can jump in.
I've been talked out.
Oh, no.
I had so much fun talking to space and stuff.
Oh.
So, yeah. I don't know. Depending upon where you live, but coming from the Midwest and having friends where you could actually go out into farmhouses and what have you and look up at the night sky and actually see the Milky Way. It's just incredible to see. And then having to come to a larger city where you can't see much of anything. You kind of feel, you feel kind of deprived.
Well, I was mentioning Vasquez Rocks, which is the very famous kind of angled rock formation you see in all the westerns and science fiction shows. And I back when I had a car, I had friends who would go up there a lot. We went up there one night, and I don't remember why, because it was like night. But while we were there were a lot of astronomers off to the side of the parking lot with red flash, what I call red flashlights. They're like red filtered, so that you wouldn't have the bright light. In fact, when you're doing astronomical gazing, the last thing you want to do is look at the moon, because that'll wreck your night vision for like the night. That's what my astronomy teacher in college said. You want to go for stars and satellites and such. Don't look at the moon, especially if it's full, until maybe last.
Now, I do know that when I was in the Air Force in North Dakota, you could get out away from the base, and there was hardly any light pollution at all. Little bitty towns so far apart. I could go out there at nighttime when I'd be traveling out to the missile sites and stuff and watch the northern lights dancing around. If you ever get a chance to see the northern lights, it's a neat thing to watch.
I actually saw the northern lights out of an airplane going from Chicago back to New Jersey years ago. It was a nighttime flight because they were less expensive, and I don't know if the stewardess told me or because maybe noticed I was awake or something, but she let me walk up into first class to see out the window better. And yeah, it looks fake. It looks just really weird. This green shimmering curtain going across the sky.
Yeah, you don't think it's much, but it's just amazing. It's just amazing what's up there, I think.
I would really like to be able to go out in the Midwest, maybe even out toward the desert somewhere where you can be out in just total darkness and really see everything in the sky.
Yeah, but then there's scorpions and other little critters that want to come up and bite you.
I don't mean I want to be out there walking on the desert. I'll drive out and sit, like on the back of a truck or something and do it. But anyway.
There is a camping trip that you can take into one of the craters in Hawaii. And you have to pack everything in and take everything out. But they bill it as a stargazing adventure where, it's up on a course up in the mountains in the volcanic crater. It's just beautiful.
Have you been on it?
No. That's on the bucket list, though.
Oh, it's on the bucket list, huh? Wow.
Because that means a lot of hiking and camping. And
now, when Dean sent me the thing and telling me about what he does and everything, and he agreed to do the show, he said that just to let me know ahead of time that as many, many times, nights and everything that he's been looking at the stars for years and years and years, he has never seen a UFO. And
A what?
A UFO, and I told him, you know, the probably the main reason for looking through them telescopes at such distances, it probably wouldn't pick anything up unless it was right directly in line, which is probably something that would be rare anyway, because the distance that the telescope is pulling from, it wouldn't really pick anything up that was in a closer range, would it, Barbara?
I don't. It would be fuzzy.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing of it is that you're adjusting your gaze way out there.
Right.
It's like looking at in the distance and then having to look at something right up front or right close by, or your hand or something like that. It's going to be out of focus big time.
Right.
It's going to take a while to adjust. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of astronomers out there that haven't seen a meteor either.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, because there's like 360 degrees of sky out there, and how much of it can you actually watch at any one time? So, which is sad.
Which is sad.
That's why there's so many backyard astronomers, is so that you can network them all together, and if the bigger telescopes don't pick up a moving object in the sky, an amateur astronomer might, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
I like him. This was a great guest.
Yes, he was. And
a very good book, folks. 100 Things to See in the Night Sky, and it is really worthwhile.
Yes, the way it's worded and everything. It talks about different things. He gives you a very good insight to when you can see planets, when are the closest, when are the brightest, and where to look at to find them. They do the drawings of the, what are those things called? When it has like the Canis Minor.
Canis Minor, yes.
Yeah,
The constellations.
Right, constellations. the Canis Major. Yeah. Well, it has the minor and major. But what it does is he shows you where the stars are at on it and where they are in relation to others. So it's very informative. And if you like to go out at night and just look at the sky and most of the ones that he has in here, and he tells you stars that you can see with the naked eye. You don't have to have anything. But if you have a pair of binoculars, it looks a whole lot better, closer.
Or like I said, not at all. I mean, I was really impressed how many YouTube videos were coming out about the Michigan meteor.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a lot of people seeing different angles, too. So it was really impressive just how much of a fireball that thing was. But it's hard to say just how big it was from those photographs.
It looked pretty big. I mean, it was certainly a big enough boom.
Well, now, when some of those hit, I believe it was the one that hit over in Siberia, I forget how many thousands of years ago, that also formed, I bought one for Patsy. It's a crystal. And I forget what the name of it is.
Is it moldavite?
Yeah, moldavite. So those things form crystals and valuable things like that sometimes. It's getting very rare to get something from there now, though, because they say it's almost all gone. But if the one hit in Michigan, if it would have hit where, like out in the sand or something like that, would have that also maybe formed crystals?
Oh, the one in Siberia flattened trees.
Well,
for
yeah.
I think but that was like in the 1820s or something, or
it was further. I think it was further back in that. I think it was 1700.
I can't remember. Yeah.
It was like not Tuskegee. It was some weird name, but I know which one you mean. Let's see.
I'm not aware of.
Yeah,
I
the
can't remember. Yeah.
Tunguska Siberia Blast. Let me
Okay.
get the date on that. I know it's.
But it
100 years
flattened
ago.
trees for everywhere, so it's hard to
Yeah.
say if it's that hot or it came
And
in
it happened
that.
in 1908.
1908. That late? Wow.
Wow.
30th June 1908. A large explosion occurred near the Stony Tunguska River in Yeniseisk Governorate, Russia, on the morning of 30 June 1908. The explosion over the sparsely populated eastern Siberian taiga flattened 2,000 square kilometers, which is 770 square miles, of forest, yet caused no known human casualties. The explosion is generally attributed to an airburst of a meteoroid, which actually should be meteor because meteoroid is still in the vacuum of space. It is classified as an impact event, even though no impact crater has ever been found. The object is thought to have disintegrated at an altitude of 5 to 10 kilometers, rather than to have hit the surface of the Earth.
Wow.
Uh,
Still caused a lot of damage, though.
Yeah, and make pretty rocks.
Yep. Sure.
Moldavite's beautiful. Moldavite, and Patsy will tell you, it's just gorgeous,
Oh,
and it has a different feel to it
it does.
than
And-
than different stones.
And it looks black. But if
Yeah.
you hold it up to a light, it's green. Clear.
Yeah.
You can see through it. See the green. Which is pretty interesting. So,
well, there are a lot of green crystals. I mean,
Yeah,
you got
from what I understand, it's the impact and the heat and whatever it connected with on the planet that caused the moldavite to form. I don't think it was part of the meteor itself.
just the heat like
I
melted.
could be wrong, but I don't think it was part of the meteor.
Like the heat and everything melted the sand and or whatever it was, the ground or whatever, which would have caused, unless it, well, I don't think it would have been part tree and stuff.
No, but like I said, it did flatten all the trees around
Yeah.
there, and they're still flat. So
Yeah. I wonder if it could have been like a nuclear explosion, did I not?
yeah,
some
But
people
then
have
it's
even speculated.
interesting.
Some people have
Go ahead, Jeff.
speculated it's like a. Some have speculated it's like it was a teeny tiny black hole.
okay.
A
I'm just
teeny
saying.
tiny black hole.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe the size of a grain of sand or something that went by and didn't do well.
No.
Um,
Upset stomach.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, earlier you mentioned that there's a paranormal radio app. I'm looking on, and they're like 4 different ones that all say that as a title.
It's called
Do you know which?
Paranormal Radio. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got one by TalkStream Live, another by Fine Apps 2013.
Tune in.
Tune in.
Tune in radio.
Tune in.
I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
Give you the link.
Which I want to. Well, I want to put the link. I want to put the link on the report page.
Okay, I will get it for you.
Cool.
Because it's fun.
So,
We need more stuff like this. We need apps.
Here's what I'm going to do. While I'm making my tea, I'm going to let you guys talk.
Why are you making tea?
Because she brought it up here for me, and I got to make it to drink it.
Yeah. Got to do something to chug down that fruitcake.
Well, I don't have no. I have no fruitcake.
You got to have the obligatory fruitcake, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just not. It's just not coffee time without fruitcake. Which also I think is something foreign from outer space, but
Oh Lord.
well, it is. I'm
Haven't
sorry,
you ever had
but
fruitcake.
no. Who the heck would want to eat that stuff?
I don't know. I haven't had it either, but
You just can't.
Patsy said she liked it.
Okay.
Okay, there's
That's-
people that like fruitcake, and then there are normal people.
Exactly.
Well, that's what Patsy wanted to get you guys for Christmas, fruitcake.
Fruitcake.
There you go. Throw it at neighbors we don't like, and
You might have had somebody you come across that you forgot to get a gift for, and there you have one handy and ready.
The one that was been passed around from generation to generation.
We still
Sure.
get the pamphlets from them people wanting us to buy fruitcakes. So I guess they just couldn't take a hint.
okay. Interesting.
Tabby said fruitcakes embalmed.
Yeah, that's what they taste like.
Cat's even looking green.
Okay, so
You know, there are some cakes that are made to dip. You know, like ginger cake, you normally would dip in schnapps. And I don't know if there's anything that will take the taste away from a fruit cake that you could dip to make it any better.
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
different,
but yeah.
there's different cakes that they make to dip stuff with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you said the ginger cake. We do gingerbread, but she makes a hot caramel sauce that we put over it. It's good, but you can't eat a lot.
Well, traditionally, you dip it in peppermint schnapps.
It's been a long time since I've had peppermint schnapps.
I don't think I've ever had schnapps.
Really?
No, I've tasted whiskey and bourbon and scotch and regular stuff. I don't think I've ever actually had vodka. I've tasted bourbon a little bit, but never really drank it.
When I was in the Air Force, I used to keep a little half pint in my coat pocket in my locker. And we would get Coke, and I'd mix it with Coke and have a big cigar during the winter time. Yeah. I used to do that. But I haven't had any since then, so long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah.
So you
Night sky stuff. Always blessed.
So you said something's coming up, what is it, Monday?
Yeah, your birthday's on Monday.
Your birthday.
Birthday. I just
Right.
retired.
Henry, you're getting so old you're forgetting your birthday day.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be having a birthday. I just retired. I'm still trying to celebrate that and ain't had no luck yet.
No luck in celebrating your retirement?
No, I think I had 3 good days after I retired, and then she got sick, and then I got sick, and the rest is history.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
It
I
snowed.
thought it was more like I thought it was more like you show up at work saying, "Can I come back?"
No,
I
that's
miss
what
it
they
here.
kept hoping, but no.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had.
You know,
Go ahead.
as an actor, there's almost no such thing as retirement unless you're a diva. You know, and because I'm hardwired to be on a set.
Yeah, well, we've also had snow here, cold weather, so I haven't been able to actually get out and do anything. So maybe next month I'll start finding out what being retired might be.
Yeah, more time for ghost hunting.
Yeah, that's my plan. So I'm still working on that. Speaking of that, I have sent out to a lot of different people that we will be doing Gettysburg this year, the 13th and 14th of April. So if you'd like to come and join us, feel free to do. We'll be doing the show live from the Ghost Exchange. It's owned by Pam, and I forget what her husband's name is. He's been sick too. So, but they have a you can buy all kinds of ghost hunting equipment there, and their place is also supposed to be haunted, but that's where we'll be doing the show live from. So, ought to be very interesting.
Cool.
Already have quite a few that's committed to going, and we're still looking for others. If they want to come, that's fine. So we will not be, I don't think we're going to be doing the one place that we was going to try, because they've already booked some events that doesn't start until like 11:30, and I doubt if we're going to stay up that late just waiting to get in there to investigate the place. So Tabby said it's owned by Pam and Steve Berry. So yeah. But yeah, we're still going to be doing all kinds of other things. We got we're going to be going out onto the battlefield. We'll have also coming with us Craig Rupp. So he'll be hopefully he's going to be good enough where he'll be able to at least point out some things for everybody and take us out there. He knows all about the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
And then there's all kinds of other places that we're still working on. I got Tabby, who's in the chat room there, working hard, helping take care of things. So she's done a great job for us. So I can't complain about it. Is that you, Jeff? That wasn't me that time.
No, I yawned. I accidentally stretched my back and it made me yawn.
Oh. So.
Not exactly not much of a spring chicken myself anymore.
Harder to make those early morning call times.
I mean, a couple of months ago, I worked on a Dick Cheney biopic called Backseat. That's, I believe, starring Kristen Bell. I got to see Amy Adams' work, but they were filming at a cemetery up in Sylmar, and I thought, oh, well, I know where Sylmar is. That's not, that's just north in the valley. No problem with that. And I looked it up on the map, and it was like, I went to Google Maps. I said, okay, how do I get there? It says, well, you can't quite get there from here. And I'm like, what? And I checked, and apparently it's in the middle of nowhere north of where the buses go. So I had to figure out the closest bus to the road that goes to the cemetery, and it turned out it was a 3-mile hike from the bus stop to the cemetery, and it was a 6 a.m. call. So I took the last bus of the night that got me up there at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I hiked it. And the irony was, of course, I was like, well, hopefully it's not like it's all uphill. It was all uphill. I had to hike uphill for 3 hours. It was, but it was a whole lot of not so much light pollution, so I was able to see some pretty good stars.
Nice.
So,
still not worth the 3.
I believe at least I may have some good screen time. So you should be able to see me in this movie. And yeah, it I mean, it's about Dick Cheney, so I'm like, well, now I have to go see it. It's not like I'd probably go see it otherwise. I'm not really a huge biopic fan unless the subject matter is really compelling. But yeah.
Well, it's something to, the cat in the chat room was saying, it's kind of the thing that you can say when you were young. When I was younger, I had to hike to a movie set 3 miles uphill, both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Barefoot.
Well, fortunately, one of my fellow actors, I mentioned it to them. They're like, "Oh, I'll take you home." And she drove me not only back into the shipping lanes, as I call it, but just all the way down to Hollywood. I was pretty impressed. She didn't have to go that far.
Now, Barbara, I know we have lots of different psychics, mediums, and so forth on the show. Are you considered just are you a psychic or just a...
You keep asking me that, Henry, and I keep telling you, I don't consider myself anything. I just do what I do. I don't call myself
I just do what
anything,
I do.
and I would never, I would nenever consider myself that. Sometimes I pick stuff up, sometimes I don't.
So you're more like a sensitive.
She's a photographer.
I know she's
Pretty
a
much.
photographer.
She takes pictures and then just sees what develops.
But do you think that people has those abilities are...
I think everybody does.
Yeah.
To an extent, yes. It's like intuition or something like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
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 My first metaphysics teacher told a story about intuition, and he was driving along, and his intuition essentially said, "Turn here." He's like, "No, why would I turn here? That's out of my way." And his intuition says, "Turn here." And he just like, "No, that doesn't make any sense. That's out of my way. I'm going this way." And he got pulled over and got a ticket. But he says the thing about intuition is, if he had made the turn, A, he would have gotten out of the ticket, but B, he would have never known why.
Huh.
Well, that's a healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
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 I think I'd have rather made the turn and not got the ticket.
Yeah, but then now he knows to pay attention to his intuition, so, it's money well spent, I guess, for the lesson.
Yeah, I guess you can look at it like that. So, but
there was a time my brother and I don't know if he still can. I haven't really worked on it lately, but he and I could sense when there were police ahead of us, and we would slow down. And I was driving a date out to Pennsylvania at one point, and all of us I was on the highway and doing pretty much the 70 miles an hour that everybody does on the highways, and I just got the impression, oh, there's a cop up ahead. So I slowed down to, about 55, 58, because 55 was the speed limit. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's a cop up ahead." She says, "Where?" I say, "Don't know, but he's up ahead." And all of a sudden, this car whizzes by me at like 80 miles an hour. And after about 30 seconds, out of nowhere, this cop pulls out and snabs the guy. And she's like, "Oh, you're good."
Oh, you're good, huh?
Well, she was the first actual witch I'd ever met officially. She was a neo-pagan witch out in Long Island who got me studying that aspect of metaphysics.
Jeff has radar.
Radar.
Yeah, radar. Yeah.
Bacon radar.
Yeah. And Coffee for Dessert said, "I'm into wishing. I wish the Paranormal View was on every single day." And if you listen to Para X Radio enough, it's probably pretty close to being on every single day.
Or go to our podcast page.
Yeah.
You can pick it up every day.
And if you go to my website at jeffgould.net, GEOFFGOLD. Try that again. GEOFFGOULD.net/2011PNV.htm. There's a whole listing of pretty much all the podcasts we've done since I've been a co-host.
Which goes back to about, what?
2011.
2011? That's pretty good ways.
Yeah. My friend Michael that I met on Dude, Where's My Car, we realized we've known each other coming on 18 years now. So, yeah. Wow.
See, the first show you was on, was that me, you, and Craig? Or
yeah. It was you, me, and Craig, and I can't believe you managed to get me to say that grammatical nightmare. Yes, Craig, Rupp, and I, as well as you. That's no better. You know. So, and of course, that was my then roommate meltdown episode, which unfortunately did not get taped.
Which would have been funny.
It was funny.
Well, not funny for you, but yeah.
No, at the time it was not funny, but it's funny in the thought of it. So yeah.
I don't think I have anybody lined up for next week, but I am working on somebody. And I'll give you a hint who it may be. It may be our one true and only UFO guy. He, Wortman. He's been working on some stuff about a UFO.
Cool.
That he's got a lot of information on.
Thought you were going to say he had in his backyard.
I don't think it's in his backyard, but he's got a lot of information on it. He said he's about completed, so he said it'll make for a whole 2-hour show easy.
Woohoo!
So I'm seeing about trying to get him on for then.
That would be awesome.
Who all has seen the UFO that was posted where the alien walks across the field, goes up in it, and flies away?
That sounds like 17 different YouTubes I've seen. You know,
I saw your post it, and to me it still looks photoshopped,
CGI?
especially when you look at when the spaceship takes off and flies over a bunch of trees. It looks like he's flying through the trees,
right?
And none of the trees are moving.
None of the trees are moving. Now,
yeah.
Somebody pointed out and said, well, there's no shadow of it. Well, when it goes to take off, you'll see a shadow under it, and you'll see the shadow move as it goes up. But as it takes off, there is no shadow following it either. So you would think that if there's a shadow on the ground where it was sitting at, that it would have still created a shadow somewhere on the ground, trees or something. So
there we go.
I'm like you. I do believe that it was photoshopped.
I mean, a very good Photoshop.
Yeah, it seemed to be. I mean, the alien walked across and went up the stairs to it, and stairs.
And I don't recall seeing any shadows with the alien either, but I have to go back and look at it.
There was. You could see something of a shadow, kind of him walking across the field.
Okay, my audio has become a mess. I got kicked off, and I brought back in, and you guys are all staticky. Let me reboot Skype, and I'll see if I can get back in.
Well, you got about 15 minutes.
That's no problem.
Okay.
That's it. You're right.
All right. I guess Jeff went bye-bye. Or did Barbara go?
So, no, I'm here. The thing with some of these, and I'm really starting to look at debunking a lot of video, and I start to look at things like shadow movement, stuff going on in the background. The other thing I was looking at was some of these new ghost videos that are coming out.
Yeah.
And you have people walking, and then all of a sudden they disappear. And it's like, and Jeff can appreciate this, the quote that cinema is truth in 24 frames a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Godard. Well, ghost hunting is security cameras at 3 to 6 frames a second. So, you could be walking there, and if you hit the frame just right, the person sort of disappears in a security camera. So, I tell people, you have to look at when you get these videos and they show security camera footage, how many frames a second are they actually shooting? Because some of these, I'm convinced, they're just, somebody has their security cameras to take a photo every 6 seconds.
Which I think is pointless. I think it should just be a continuous stream so you can actually see stuff in real time.
Yeah, but when you do that, you eat up so much footage. And before, cameras were usually on videotape. And so you'd have hours and hours of wasted videotape. So they cut down and they compress that so that you're not taking. And I don't know very few security cameras that actually run constantly at full length. They always take a photo, take a photo, take a photo, take a photo.
Well, the security cameras they used for the tension experience, we had cameras in every single room, and they were running at real time because you kind of had to, because especially since Darren was orchestrating events from the production area, and he just had these two massive screens that were all broken down to little squares of each of the rooms and hallways. So he knew who to send where and make sure everything ran smoothly. So and it was interesting in IR because I had somebody clad in black in one of my scenes, and in IR it comes out as white.
Oh yeah.
And I the other night I went to a screening of a horror film called The Monster Project. Which was an excellent premise, but it was so handheld as a found footage movie that I had to keep my eyes closed through 99% of it because I got virtual motion sickness.
Yeah.
Which I found out watching, Blair Witch Project when that came out. And this made Blair Witch look like it was on tripods. This was just frenetic, insane, and I was just like, oh, please, seriously, come on. And when things really started to hit the fan, action-wise, then I was able to watch a little more because I knew I had to, and they kind of stayed a little trying to stick to what you're seeing instead of just running around. So, but they had the director and the crew, some of the crew, DP and all that, and since much of it was filmed in infrared, in order to give it the fact that they were in a house without lights and there were these monsters running around, they pointed out that one of the characters is wearing a police uniform that gets shredded, but on the infrared, these shreds came out snow white, and it looked really weird. They had to go in and re-augment the fabric in a way that it would look like it was still dark fabric, even though that's not how it looks in IR.
Yeah. So again, some of these footage, ghost images, I sort of laugh off. And there's a lot more on the market these days. A lot of on YouTube.
Oh, there is everywhere, especially in fake ones of the schools over there where door opens and this falls and just all kinds of stuff. It's got to be pranked some way.
Well, yeah, anytime you have action and it's always by a window or a door or something hiding it, then I kind of have issues.
Yeah.
And it might very well be accurate, but then show me another camera view,
right,
where I can actually see behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
One
of my favorite shots was in Ghost Adventures, and Zach Bagans was at that clown motel in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico somewhere? That weird hotel that has all the clowns.
Right, I know.
That's in Las Vegas.
Is that Las Vegas? I thought
it's outside of Las Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check. Okay, so
it's what's the name of the town?
It's got a cemetery right. It's got a cemetery right across the street, which is convenient, I guess.
Hope or something strange like that.
Yeah.
It's Nevada.
Well, Zach apparently has colorophobia, so he's got a fear of clowns. And they creep me out, but they don't scare me. And he's in there with all these little clown figures, and some of them are full figures, some are little small dolls. And while he was in there, one of the more full-size figures sitting in a chair, the hand resting on the leg just sort of falls. Boom, like, gravity. That's all I could think of was, gravity. And he almost had a heart attack and ran away. And I'm like, seriously, dude? You know, it's one thing to be scared of clowns. It's another thing to be scared of images of clowns.
Yeah.
You know, it's one. You know, I mean, if you go to some kid's birthday party and there's a clown and you're, you know, afraid of that, that's different than, oh, here are these inanimate objects who just happen to look like clowns. You know, then yeah, suck it up.
Well, it's like one of my favorite Jason Hawes phrases, which is, you want to investigate the paranormal, but you're friggin' afraid of the paranormal.
Yeah. That's what drives me crazy with some of these YouTube videos. You have somebody with like a GoPro on their head or their body cam, and the moment they see something and my brain is like, ooh, what is that? The person is tearing tail and running. I'm like, you went in there looking for something, you found it, and you ran away. Well played. Yeah.
It's not so bad running away. It's if the thing runs after you.
Well, if you're chasing it into a trap, fine. But otherwise, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
As well. So you can see what's chasing them, like you said.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, why are you running away from it? That's what you're there for. Come on.
Take the pictures and talk to it and let it come out with you so we can see it. You know.
That's what seems to what surprises me was when I do go out with groups, and there's suddenly a sound that shouldn't be from where the sound is coming. We all turn in that direction, and I'm the only one who starts walking in that direction. Like, oh, what was that? And they were like, they just can't handle why would you be walking towards it? I'm like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. You wanted to find out what's there.
Yeah, and they're all like, oh, something happened in there. I'm like, yeah, I'm curious what that was.
That's just like when we go to bed, we lock everything up and stuff in front of doors and everything. We was in bed one night, and all of a sudden there's a big bang downstairs. Well, naturally, we get up and run downstairs looking, and Patsy's got the gun and everything. Nothing's been disturbed. Doors are all locked. We couldn't figure out what it is. Next day, we found out what it was.
Kitty?
No, there was a picture that had been hanging on the wall that fell off.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, things like that happen. I mean,
it
must not have been on the wall very good, or something come loose and it fell.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that always got me about ghost hunting in the dark. I'm sorry, but wouldn't you want to be able to want to see what the move is? Yeah. If you're downstairs and the picture falls off the wall, well, if the lights are on, you can see the picture falling off the wall.
Yeah.
You don't scream and run, what was that?
Right.
So, you know, And
they say, well, the camera can pick stuff up easier in the dark. Well, not necessarily. But I mean, if there is something, let there be light so you can actually see it.
It might, but again, if you're running IR cameras or nighttime vision, the camera pixelates so badly that half of what you're seeing is just pixelation, and everybody thinks it's movement. No, it's just the camera trying to grab hold of an object. So, you know, I don't know whether or not pixelation of a camera is any better than just shooting in the daytime.
Well, that's like when Henry used to go to that Masonic Lodge, and they would have the live video streams in infrared, I would see these very large orbs, and we all know how people love orbs. And I was just watching them change velocity and direction, and I'm like, whoa, that's like really weird. And then I'm doing the tension experience. I look through the VR cameras just in the hallways, and the particulate matter was just everywhere. And I'm like, well, that just blows my orbs out of the Masonic Lodge that, yeah, they're probably bugs or
dust.
Dust.
Bugs, dust, or whatever you bring in with you.
Yep.
Yeah, but the dust in the warehouse we were using was so thick in one hallway that the breeze made it move like flotsam in ocean. It was like watching ocean waves. And it was just amazing. It was hypnotic to watch. I was like, this is so cool. But I'm at the same time thinking, I'm breathing this stuff every night for months. And about a fifth of the cast came down with throat problems after the show. And they were like, I got some kind of bug. I'm like, dude, we were breathing all kinds of who knows what in that warehouse during those shows. So I was fortunate it didn't hit me that hard.
That's like the Bell Nursing Home. I doubt if I go back there again. I mean, there's so much stuff floating around in that place now. It's toxic just to go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can breathe. You go in there, you smell the all the old stuff and everything. It's terrible.
I thought they'd fixed it up or sold it.
No, they were going to try and sell it. I don't know how close they've come to doing it or what, but it needs way too much work done to be profitable for anything, and that means ghost hunting. So,
didn't they have like construction people go in there and they run out?
No, not to my knowledge.
Oh, I thought that was something they had said, or I'll have to look that up.
Well, we're down to like 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I want to thank everybody for staying with us tonight, just chit-chatting and carrying on, even though I wasn't doing so hot. But I got Barbara and Jeff here to keep things kind of like...
Hey, well, if we have Dean back on in the summertime, it gets light later, or darker later, so you might be able to spend the whole 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. We can work on that unless they got something set up. So, yeah.
Get him around the midsummer equinox.
And he had a good time, so he said he'd like to come back on. So we'll get him on. With that, we got like 1 minute left. Again, I want to thank everybody. Yeah. And I'll post in Facebook and everything and on the Paranormal View community page who we got on and everything. So, Barbara, you got any last few things here?
Nope.
Well, that was awful quick. I mean, that was awful. You can't
she knew that
anymore.
She had that answer set up.
Yeah. So, Jeff, you got anything real quick? It's 10 o'clock.
Well, you can go.
We gotta run.
Now you can close out, Jeff.
I was going to say that you can go to facebook.com/The Paranormal View, all one word. We're on Twitter at Paraview Radio. I'm on Twitter and on Instagram at Real Badger, RealBadger. Have a good weekend.
With that, we'll see you guys next week at the same time. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
You've been listening to The Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of The Paranormal View.